Hello and welcome to the Gurtam webinar. My name is Sergey Govorunov. I'm Wialon implementation consultant for the Africa region at Gurtam company, and the topic of our today's webinar is telematics in the Middle East and Africa, and we're going to learn how the challenges were solved. During this webinar, we will speak about the market trends in Middle East and Africa, discuss the challenges that integrators face while working at these regions to find a solution to overcome these challenges. We'll analyze how Wialon features assisted with this, and we'll also learn the real success stories, and also we'll listen to a transportation manager who will share with us the challenges they solved with the GPS monitoring solution. And speaking about the participants, it's almost the role flash here, but for the hardware manufacturer. We have connectivity provider David Boxshall from Business Development Director from Pod Group. We have solution provider Karim ElDessouky. He's commercial manager from Cloud Services Group, and a customer's representative, Wael Ramadan. He's transportation manager at Egypt General Petroleum Corporation. It is worth mentioning that Wael is using the solution provided by Karim. So we have a chance to ask Wael directly about the challenges the client met in the North Africa region. But before we dive into the webinar, I would like to ask your audience, my colleagues, the end users, the fleet owners, and all the participants to enter the discussion by asking the questions in the chat, on the Zoom chat, and also at the YouTube chat. We have some time slots to ask these questions, so it would be great to have these questions. So I'd like to pass my word to David Boxshall, his connectivity provider, but yeah, I'd like to mention that I would highlight that the importance of choosing the connectivity provider. Connectivity is the king of IoT and telematics because it makes the data flow. The connectivity is not just a SIM card, it's a service that makes businesses grow. So David, you're welcome.
Thank you, Sergey. Thank you for the introduction. As you mentioned, I am the Business Development Director, UK from Pod Group, and I'd just like to introduce the company. The Pod Group provides tailored global IoT connectivity services and a hierarchical management, security and billing platform designed for IoT. We have 20 years of experience helping systems integrators, hardware manufacturers and enterprises integrate IoT into their businesses, whatever their requirements, and we're also experts in remote roaming and mission critical applications, providing reliable IoT solutions to ensure success of enterprise deployment and even in the most challenging situations. Now we come to the most topical issue at this time, and how has COVID-19 affected the telematics industry? Well, in recent weeks, we've conducted interviews with logistics companies based in the Africa region to understand the impact of COVID and how the effect it's had on the industry. From the information we've gathered, we've discovered that companies are seeing more restrictions in place at borders across the continent, and many borders have been, in fact, subject to closure. Transport carriers and companies are currently operating at reduced capacity, having found themselves in a position whereby they've been forced to make cuts to their workforce. There have also been delays in the logistics chain. For example, port authorities are taking longer to get goods in and out of the countries, which is creating a knock-on effect on the supply chain. Overall, as we perhaps expected, the coronavirus has a negative effect on the industry, and logistic companies are unable to maintain the same levels of efficiency as they were prior to the pandemic. And ultimately, of course, this affects the bottom line. However, with every crisis, there are also new opportunities. And the new opportunities and the road to recovery, we've tried to identify. So while overriding the picture appears to be somewhat negative, however, the new opportunities beginning to present themselves. For instance, border restrictions and closures have forced businesses to find new transportation routes through Africa. Having a reduced number of viable transport corridors across the continent has meant that those areas that have remained open to the passage of goods are benefiting from increased visibility. These regions are now experiencing increased demand, which could be set to continue even after the COVID-19 pandemic. The question is how companies can meet the increased demand in such difficult times. Business efficiency needs to be prioritised, and how this can be achieved. And some of the options are digital tools and automation technologies, as opposed to relying on manual business processes. In fact, the logistics companies that we interviewed have already increased their technology solutions and have told us they're starting to feel the benefits already, as the newly implemented tools are enabling them to streamline their business and maximise efficiency, even in these testing times. Now we look at the common pain points that a lot of these companies are facing, and the feedback that we've received so far. The logistics companies show that the most common pain points experienced in the Africa region include unreliable network coverage, especially when vehicles passing through remote areas and across borders. There are also widespread concern over the security of IoT SIM cards and IoT devices, as they're liable to theft and tampering. So the companies have mentioned that also have very few platforms in this market to oversee their IoT connectivity and the data usage. And this proves to be a bit of a problem, not having control over their SIM base. Also, in addition to that, old legacy technologies such as USSD, which is a GSM-based technology, continues to be used. However, they're not always compatible, reliable, and doesn't always work with the latest connectivity technologies. There's also a lack of dedicated IoT support teams who can troubleshoot connectivity issues that may arise during deployment when these devices are deployed in the field. And how do we go about solving these pain points? There are in fact several advanced IoT connectivity and technology solutions available today, which could solve these main pain points, and have been voiced by the logistics companies that we've spoken to. Using SIM cards with multi-network functionality maximizes uptime, and devices will automatically connect to the strongest signal when available. And then when the signal is lost, it travels through to remote areas and picks up the next strongest signal as and when it reaches it. Companies can establish device management policies to secure their IoT SIM cards and applications. Devices can be whitelisted or authorized to register on the enterprise network by means of IME or device identification number. Access to a modular management platform, which includes in-depth analysis, complete control, and IoT connectivity in the SIM base, are placed in the hands of the company who have deployed the application. As for legacy technologies, a comprehensive testing service is available from Pod Group to test devices that ensure that they're compatible with the new IoT technologies prior to deployment. As for legacy technologies, a comprehensive testing service, as we mentioned, and it's not just the SIM cards, but it can do test the device, the platform, and the network. Experts with first-hand experience with end-to-end communications offer support and troubleshooting around the clock to solve any IoT connectivity issues prior to deployment. And we move on to a case study that we've conducted with one of our customers based in Kenya. Alemetic Systems are a vehicle tracking solutions company, and they offer their services in Central and Eastern Africa. Their clients, many of whom transport valuable cargo such as gold and copper, require real-time monitoring solutions to track their fleet as it moves across remote areas and crosses borders into neighbouring countries. Now, we spoke to the managing director of Alemetic Systems to assess coverage, competitive security, the effect of the COVID-19, and how they manage the control of their SIMs. And some of the things that the managing director pointed out, that his team faced challenges while implementing their vehicle tracking solutions in Africa, as well as difficulties they have encountered in this year in light of the pandemic. In terms of coverage, the MD suggested that stretches along the transport corridors of the Central and Eastern Africa region, where the network signal is weak due to remoteness of these areas, and how coverage can be lost in the fields across country borders. Now we have competition, obviously, as every industry does, and local MNOs are increasing their presence in this region. However, their coverage is often limited to a single network, which does not guarantee the uptime required by mission-critical devices. Many fleets also have to cross borders. Local operators do not offer cost-effective roaming plans due to local legislation. As for security of the IoT deployment, SIM cards and hardware devices are liable to physical tampering and theft. And with the pandemic recently has resulted in increased border restrictions, which is slowing the time taken across the borders in and out. So it's been pointed out that the companies in fleet telematics also control and the visibility of the SIM base is paramount, and some of the local operators are not able to do this. And if they do, it can tend to be rather expensive. So we move on to the solutions that we can provide our customers in this area. As experts in remote roaming and mission critical applications, Pod Group has been able to offer Alemetic systems a range of IoT technologies, providing them with a solution to the issues that they've encountered in the local market. Our multi-network IoT cards improve coverage by offering companies such as Alemetic more than just one network in many areas. When coverage is lost, devices will automatically switch to the strongest network available, which helps to recover those patchy areas, which sometimes reduces connectivity. Local operators, on the other hand, do not have the means to provide this alternative connectivity, and their geography of coverage is somewhat limited. As an MVNO, Pod Group, however, we're able to offer Alemetic's IoT-specific SIM cards with multi-network functionality, giving them a strong competitive advantage over other members in the fleet telematics industry. Our multi-network SIM cards maximize uptime, enabling fleets to be tracked as they travel across the most remote areas. We offer enterprises anti-theft applications, which helps to secure IoT devices in the field using IME locker and SIM applet applications. And this allows Alemetics to lock their SIMs to specific devices. These are little small applets which are available on the SIM card, which can be controlled remotely, and it allows the application to prevent SIM cards being removed or used in other hardware and inserted in other devices. These devices can be identified by a identification number and will not be allowed to register to the network. Such control over network usage also eliminates possible bill shock that could arise through misuse of SIMs and the devices that have not been previously whitelisted or authorized. If a SIM card was stolen from the Alemetic systems tracking devices, the applet would also enable the location of the SIM card to be tracked in real time. And also, as part of the solutions that Pod Group supply for mission critical devices, it's important to know that a dedicated support team are on hand to troubleshoot any issues surrounding IoT connectivity. Local operators lack in-depth knowledge IoT devices. However, our team at Pod, which is made up of experts of end-to-end communications, are able to offer our customers support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our customer Alemetics also mentioned that the lack of control of their SIM cards posed a challenge, and access to Pod IoT Suite, which is our SIM management platform, allows real-time management of SIM cards as well as diagnostics and analytics. And this has given Alemetics a complete control over all aspects of their connectivity, as well as maximum visibility for troubleshooting thanks to the in-depth integration of the network. Furthermore, Pod Group's multi-network connectivity combined with Wialon's GPS vehicle monitoring is the ideal solution to monitor a broad range of devices. By combining the two solutions, Alemetic has been able to access a powerful fleet management platform, which can also support additional applications such as CSG fuel measurement and advanced security features.
Thank you, David. Thank you for your useful insight and a great user case. And as for me, I like the IMA Locker SIM applet. It looks like a killer feature because those who work in the Africa region know how theft is one of the main challenges in the region. And also, do I understand correctly that your support team is 24/7 ready to investigate the cause for the problem when a device is offline, either it is a network, device, or platform?
Of course, yes, our dedicated support team are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and in every corner of the globe through our regional offices.
That is amazing, actually. That is cool because our integrators, they face this issue and they understand what's wrong. Is it a device or a software or the connectivity provider? Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. From my side, I'd like to continue and I'd like to comment on the features that we used in this case. Alemetic is a great integrator. He has a lot of clients in Africa region. So we're going to examine the features of Wialon that we used. In this case, let me share my screen again. So now you can see the Wialon metering software with a lot of units on it. I'm going to open the work area to show you some of the units that of different clients. So I'd like to highlight that the main challenge was to establish a reliable internet connection. So using the pod group, the devices were connected to the platform successfully. So the first step was done. So then in Wialon, I'd like to analyze two main features or two main aspects. The first one, the real-time actions, so the events that generate the system to help the clients to see what's going on with the fleet. And another aspect is the data, to analyze how the vehicle was moving, was performing, and all this thing. So actually, this integrator did a great job while configuring our real-time notification system. Speaking about the notifications, is the trigger action system. It means that when something happens to the unit, in case of time, location, or some sensor values, the system will generate the action. The actions can be purely notifications. Also, it can be some internal Wialon actions, execute a command or execute a report template to send to the client, etc. So in this particular case, at the notification tab, I'd like to show you the notifications that we used. So first of all, let's go one by one. We can see that a notification harsh braking alert. So it means that we have different units, and then we need to specify our trigger type. In our case, we're going to have the parameter in the message. Your tracking device sends different parameters, so we can control this. In our case, when the value is 1, it means that this parameter corresponds to the event. Then we're going to perform different actions, including sending the emails or to pop-up notification to different email addresses, and also we're going to present them here. At the last stage, you're going to pick the message you'd like to generate and different conditions. For example, on the specific time, or the minimum duration of alarm state. In this case, we don't need to use this because we're just looking for the event from the tracking device. So the pop-up window looks like this. We have this message here, and yeah, we can see the units, the speed, kilometers per hour, the location, and also the link to the Google Maps. Another thing we have that's so-called idling. So as far as I understand, or it's very important that the fleet is working all the time. And the client needs that to make sure that there is no idling of the fleet. In this case, our integrator creates the notification, the trigger action built on the vehicle idling. So in this case, again, we have all the fleet and using the idling trigger. So if the vehicle is not moving for more than 31 minutes, then we're going to generate the notification. Again, this is going to message in a pop-up window, just that dispatcher or the fleet operator know that the fleet is idling. So we have the idling for 31 minutes, idling for 30 minutes, and like this, that's it. Also, we have the main power temperature alerts. So it's very important to prevent the device thefts. If the device is not sending any data like this, no transmission alerts, we're going to generate an action notification. And in this case, main power temperature alerts, for example, if the device is being disconnected from the power supply, from the vehicle battery, then the tracking device will send the value and parameter that the power is low. So let us check the properties, or it is here. The sensor is in range. The battery from 5 to 30 means that it is below some specific recommended minimum. Also, it's also important that the drivers, they're not violating the rules, the road traffic laws. So our partner create the notification on the speed alerts. So here you can see if the vehicle is moving more than 85 kilometers per hour, we're going to generate the action, the notification. Another thing that we have here, this is the geofence alert. So it means that if the vehicle, there can be different scenarios, but in this case, our partner uses the following. If the vehicle is moving in the specific geofence more than specified kilometers per hour, then the system will generate the notification. So it is possible to create, or it's possible to import the geofences from different systems. We use the KML file format, and then we can build the notification to regulate the speed and these geofences. So these simple steps dramatically improve the driver behavior and fleet efficiency. What is more, we have the night movement alerts. So the idea is very simple again. We're going to monitor the engine ignition plus the speed of the vehicle. So it means that if the vehicle is moving during some particular time interval, for example, after hours or from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m., then the system will generate the action. This is going to be like a pop-up window notification or send a push notification to a smartphone of the fleet owner. And maybe then the security team, they will contact the driver and will understand what's going on with the vehicle during the nighttime. So these and more scenarios were solved by the customer using the notification system. Another thing that I'd like to show you is the following. We have the approach to we need to make sure that the fleet is moving all the time, and the fleet owner set up the limit for its fleet. It says that the vehicle must drive at least 100 kilometers per day. So if the vehicle does this, then the system will make a notification that everything is okay. And then the system will register this as an event. And then later on, the fleet owner can see what vehicles were with this, were triggered this notification. And then he can say that everything is good. But he can see that the same vehicles did not perform this daily mileage. So this is kind of the information that he can use to analyze or to make action to improve the fleet efficiency. So this we're talking about the notification system. So everything that happens to the vehicle can be monitored in the real time and then sent in the real time to the stakeholders. And also we can register the events for further analysis. And this further analysis will be done in the report section. So the report is called the document. Let me refresh the page now. Report templates, just a moment. So the report is the thing that it's like a document. We have different report templates. So these documents consist of different pages. We call them table types. So it's possible to create the report template with the table types that will represent the information that valuable for the fleet owner. So here I'd like to show you some of this. So we have the so-called fatigue driving reports. Means that we can execute it, by the way. Actually, this is the fatigue. This fatigue driving report consists of the basic information about the vehicles that we're moving during some time interval. And also we have the speed, so it's just the movements of the vehicle here. But the thing I'd like to show you is the mileage report from some specific time interval. Let's say the fleet owner interested when the fleet is operating. So for example, interested in get the mileage from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I'm going to execute this report template to get the data. So we have different vehicles that were performing during this interval, therefore today, for 8th of September. Also, we can see we have the report template for one unit, and it's possible to get the information of the speed performance. So here we can see different messages from the specific vehicle. So in case of the accident maybe, or we need to analyze the message by message of the vehicle, so we can get this messages tracing table type to get message by message information with the speed. Also, we have the charts. So these the information is represented here. We can see the speed of the vehicle plus different sensors with the values that these values were changing during some time. Also, we have the top speedings, not for this track. Also, let me show you the eco-driving reports. The eco-driving report shows the vehicle performance. It is possible in the system to create different criteria that if the vehicle trespass these criteria, the system will generate the so-called little events. And then using the eco-driving report, it is possible to get information about the best and the worst performing vehicles. In this case, we can see that these specific vehicles, the rank is 6, so this is the best vehicle. And for this specific vehicle, we can see a lot of violations. And if we expand this, we can see different violations represented on the map. So I can zoom in to see the location on the map. Yeah. What is more here, I'd like to show the the night driving reports. So it is also possible to generate the event using the notification that the vehicle is moving during the time interval. But also the fleet owner wants to get the real mileage, so how the vehicle was performing during the night time. So let's check this one. We have different trips, so we have this vehicle, and for this specific vehicle, we can see that this trip was performed during the time, the night driving time, yeah, during the night. So then using this information, the fleet owner can go to the driver and say that you're not supposed to do this. And yeah, to wrap up, the reports is the thing that you can generate all the information for further analysis. There are different values, the sensor values, the speed of the vehicle, different events like trip, parking can be placed and can be analyzed. So now I think it's a high time to answer a question. I'd like to stop sharing my screen and I'll read some questions. So I have a question from Chepang Anir. The question, here in Africa region, we have a problem with network coverage, and we have been looking for such a SIM that will pick different networks, even in remote areas. But the problem is that the data in this site is quite expensive. So how we can go about this? David, I think you're the right person to answer this question.
Yes, no problem at all. We offer a pricing structure across the world in zones. So basically we can pick out the particular networks which are more economical with any given region and offer any customers zones within that region. So for example's sake, we offer up to 500 networks across the world. We can choose the most economical networks in for instance, this customer's region and price it more efficiently and effectively for him, which would suit his requirements. So that's available.
Got it, thank you. And another question. So what is the difference between working with MNO and an MVNO for connectivity services? Again, David, I think the question is for you.
Yes, certainly. The MVNO,
MVNO.
As we are at Pod Group, we're able to offer, as I mentioned before, a multi-network solution. So in other words, we would be able to offer up to 3, maybe 4 networks per country. So whichever area a customer is using their fleet, they're able to use all of those networks within any given country. Whereas an MNO is only really able to offer one network in any given area. So it's by its very nature, it's limited. So that's the difference between the two.
So it means that you don't do this infrastructure thing. You just negotiate with different local providers to present the better services for your customers. Am I right?
Indeed, indeed.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. All right, I think that we can move forward. And yeah, now I'd like to pass the word to the Karim, the solution provider. Karim, please, could you please start?
Thank you, Sergey, and thank you, David. I'm very happy to be here with you all. I'm Karim ElDessouky, the Commercial Manager of Cloud Services Group, CSG. And also I'm very happy again to welcome with me Wael Ramadan, who is the Transportation Manager of Egypt General Petroleum Corporation, who is, we are very happy to have him with us. Cloud Services Group, we have been in the market of system integrations and being a system integrator as well as an IoT and telematics application development for more than 20 years now. And I'm here today to present to you one of our biggest success stories in Egypt in the transportation industry as well as in the oil industry, which is Petroleum Hours. So let me explain to you petroleum hours and what were their challenges and how, from a system integrator standpoint, we were able to bring them and the perfect solution to solve their challenges. Well, Petroleum Hours, to give you a brief about them, who they are as a company, they are one of the biggest transportation companies handling the transportation of fuel and oil products in Egypt, north to south, owning and operating a fleet of around 600 vehicles and transporting oil products from refineries to refineries and from refineries as well as to fuel stations all across Egypt. What were the challenges of Petroleum Hours before being introduced to telematics? Well, their number one challenge has been from the result of increasing competition and increasing operational challenges. There was a mandate from their top management to have as a must to reduce their operational expenses as well as fuel expenses by at least 10% annually. This was very demanded in order to increase and improve profitability as well as to improve operational costs. The second challenge was that actually Petroleum Hours had no telematic solution in place. This was a company that was in need of a digital solution, digital transformation, to be able to utilize telematics and advanced solutions to digitally transform the way they manage their operations and moreover, be able to in real time monitor their operational expenses, especially fuel. So except having in place a traditional classical GPS-based vehicle tracking system, they didn't have anything else to be able to give them this real-time visibility that from top management to transportation department, they were desperately in need of. Another challenge is that they had no visibility, as I said. They had no system in place to be able to extract reports, have accurate measurements of how much exactly every vehicle was consuming in terms of fuel, which was very important in their annual budgeting and their ongoing operational costs. The last challenge, which was actually a key challenge, is that Petroleum Hours had no way of objectively measure the performance of their drivers. Now, using and utilizing the eco-driving capabilities that we have and we use from Wialon, this was very important, a very important asset and feature for us to use, because before introducing the telematics solution to Petroleum Hours, they had no way of objectively monitor and measure the performance of drivers. There were no KPIs to measure the performance of a driver. There were no real-time reports with actual real data for them to measure who's doing better and who's not doing better. And of course, this drills down to violations, speeding, idling, all of the KPIs that are all can be obtained through the eco-driving features that we obtain from such telematic solutions that includes the Wialon. So let me give you an idea now about the solution that helped to solve all of these challenges. So the solution, we as CSG, we take pride that we bring to our customer an end-to-end solution. Now, when we say an end-to-end solution, we have to be very careful that we are considered by the customer a one-stop shop, that we bring them the whole experience, the whole solution. That's why our end-to-end solution to Petroleum Hours included the four components that you can see in front of you, starting with, most importantly, at the heart of it all, Gurtam Wialon platform. And number two is a Fleet Edge Master, which is our own developed application on top of Wialon platform, which is Fleet Edge Master, being the front-end application used on a daily basis by the transportation managers and Wael, as well as who's with us today, as well as the transportation operation department of Petroleum Hours. Number three, finding the proper and appropriate and the right match as a fuel level sensor to be installed in the vehicles. And for Petroleum Hours, we identified and we found the perfect match in RCS, Epsilon Fuel Level Sensors, which we as CSG were in charge of installing and connecting in every single vehicle and connected to Wialon and up to the front end part, which is Fleet Edge Master. Last but not least, which was actually, I'm going to shed some light on it, which was actually one of the biggest challenges that we faced with Petroleum Hours, was the connectivity. Now, I would like to build here on top of David's conclusions and David's recommendations, as well as Sergey, that connectivity, without proper connectivity part, everything falls apart, really, and we have seen that in front of us. In the very first period, by implementing the solution at Petroleum Hours, we noticed that there were challenges in the connectivity by using not very accurate and very properly installed 3G and 4G connectivity. However, transitioning to a dedicated and a specific IoT, an M2M connectivity platform or solution has drastically improved the whole picture, because having the connectivity part is very important because it connects everything, as Sergey and David explained. Now, having explained the solution, let me summarize with you how the solution was composed and give you some snapshots of the output of the solution. On the top left part of your screen right now, this is a live picture of one of Petroleum Hours' traditional standard tankers that transports the products, the oil products. And as you can see, encircled by red is the fuel level sensor that was installed in this typical external fuel tank. On the bottom left part, this is one of the reports that Petroleum Hours can extract from the application, which is a fuel level and speed report, both combined. Now, this is a very important report for the transportation department of Petroleum Hours because it can give them an immediate indication of the correlation between the speed performance and the fuel consumption. So this was a very important report, of course. On the bottom right part, this is a fuel report, a chart report, a chart-based report that gives for the management, again, a charting of the fuel consumption on a time range, can be on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. This can be easily extracted from the application, from the reporting function. And last but not least, on the top right part, this was actually the most important report for the CEO of Petroleum Hours and for the top management, because here the top management can easily identify in numbers the exact consumption and expenses of every single vehicle on any time range possible. So it gives them how much distance covered by each vehicle on any time range, the exact fuel consumed during this period, and the average fuel consumption per 100 kilometers trajectory. Actually, this will take me to the ROI, and I will explain to you how all of this has led to a clear-cut return on investment for Petroleum Hours in the next slide. This was these 4 points summarize the exact return on investments that Petroleum Hours obtained by implementing the whole solution. Starting with that, before implementing the telematic solution, they were depending on in a manual way to calculate the average liter consumption per 100 kilometers. So during then, in the before era, they were estimating that for every 100 kilometers trajectory, a vehicle consumes 55 liters. After implementing the whole solution, the telematic solution, we were able to showcase to them, they were able to extract by themselves that no, it is much less than this, that for every 100 kilometers, only 42 liters are consumed. Now, this led to a dramatic change in the way they plan their budget, their annual budget on fuel expenses, and in return has led to even more than the anticipated and envisioned 10% reduction. It even reached 15% reduction in fuel expenses every year, which is, by the way, in their own numbers, is about a saving of around $500,000 every year, which is quite a lot for a company like Petroleum Hours. Number 2, as an ROI, was that the drivers idling and eco driving has improved. As you remember, there was a problem that they were unable to objectively monitor the performance of the drivers. Using the eco driver features in Wialon and in the front end part of the application, using all of these features, they were able to have simple, clear, well-defined, very detailed reports on the eco driving performance and the driver performance of every single driver in every single mission along the way. The third part is that the fuel level expenditure reporting was being extracted in minutes by the top management, not having to rely on the manual process of having to request reports, having to calculate it. No, it was the magic of technology by having the ability to extract these reports in literally minutes and in seconds for the top management using their own account on the application. Last but not least, part of our mandate with Petroleum Hours that we Petroleum arrows have an existing in place ERP system. So part of the requirements was to integrate the data and the output generated from Wialon and from the front-end application Fleet Edge Master to their existing ERP system, which we managed to achieve using web APIs. So all of the exact numbers and values and financials extracted from the data was connected and integrated smoothly with the existing ERP system that Petroleum Arrows had. And with that, I would thank you very much. And over to you again, Sergey.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Karim, for the detailed presentation. Yeah, thank you. Karim, for the detailed presentation of your case, and immense work has been done. Fuel probes. Also, just a moment. Oh, yeah, my colleague said it. Yeah, perfect. So the complex installations, also the installations were done in the dangerous environment because they're working with the fuel transportation. And to finish the integration with the customer services to push the data to the ERP system at like different integrations, that was a really hard task. Also, like after this solution was done and you need to teach, you need to train the workers, the employees of the client company. So there were a lot of hours of collaboration and communication, and everyone was working hard for the only one aim is to improve the fleet efficiency. And the fleet efficiency actually can be improved in different ways. So the first one, of course, is to reduce the fuel consumption. To reduce the fuel consumption, of course, you need to perform the installations, and also to need to increase the daily mileage, so the vehicle is moving more and further. Also, by increasing the mileage, we need to make sure that the drivers do not violate the traffic laws and the company standards, because a lot of night driving cases, the fatigue driving, so we need to prevent it. At the same time, we need to improve the, so this is a difficult task. And so to improve the fuel consumption, in our case, the partner installed the fuel level sensors, and on Wialon, maybe let's show you. I'd like to share my screen, actually. Hold on. Yes. I cannot show you the system of our partner because it's extremely secured, but I can give you the examples how the sensors and fuel monitoring can be configured. So once we have the fuel probe, we need to, I'll take the vehicle. We need to create different sensors. The sensors are built on top of the parameters. So in our case, for example, we have the fuel probe. It's possible, for example, in the track, there are going to be 2 fuel probes with the 2 fuel tanks. So Wialon system can give the capability to fuel tanks into one, and we can get the values of the fuel level in the real time. So also we have the code calculation table because we receive the data in the voltage, mostly. So we need to convert this voltage into the real liters. In this case, we're going to use the calculation table. So once it's done, we have the system that can detect the fuel thefts and the fuel FedEx. But in our case, and for the Petroleum, we don't need to do this. We just need to get sample the fuel consumption. So once we configure the sensors and activate the fuel level sensors in the system, we can get the data in the reports. So here the Wialon as the back-end solution was used. So it means that the partner has created different report templates and he created different notifications. So then when something happens, or the notification will get triggered, and on request, he developed a script that gets the data from Wialon via the Wialon API and put it to the fleet age system to visualize the data in other formats. Also, there is an integration. They can take the data from the fleet master, fleet age system, and forward to the customer system to integrate with the different other modules. So in Wialon, we have again the report templates, and we have a page dedicated for the fuel consumption. So this table is about trips. In our case, I can execute the, let's say this one, for our track. So here we can see how the vehicle is moving during the time, how many kilometers it takes during the day, and we can get its fuel consumption. So most of the report template looks like this. Yeah. Here we have the consumption by our absolute fuel consumption sensor. In this case, we're using the canvas, but yeah, it's possible to use fuel level probes. So we have the fuel consumed. Also, we can compare it. The Wialon system allows us to create the estimated fuel consumption, so we can create different traits, and if the vehicle is moving faster or RPM is spinning faster, then it will increase the fuel consumption. So we can even compare these values. What is the perfect, what is the target fuel consumption, and what is the real fuel consumption. And having this data, having the total mileage per day, the fleet owner can take the data to take decisions. What is more, to improve the fleet efficiency, to improve the driver behavior. In this case, we need to monitor how the drivers are moving. So the last time I said about the eco driving. So I'd like to show you the eco driving module. I know that Karim was not creating a bicycle. He just used the Wialon criteria, the presets from the eco driving module, just added all the presets here without even changing the minimum values in G-force, just took all the acceleration. For example, minimum value is 0.25 G-force, and if the vehicle exceeds these values during the trip, then the system will create a little event, and then the fleet owner can get this information about all the violations. So I'd like to mention that the violation, it's not only about the speeds of the vehicle, it's also about different conditions. For example, if the vehicle, if the driver is moving the vehicle more than 20 kilometers per hour while the seat belt is not fastened, this also can be the criteria. Or for example, the revolutions per minute, like more of a specific range, then this can be used as the criteria for the eco driving. And what is more, again, the idling of the vehicle. If the vehicle is not moving, this also can be criteria. So there are different criteria can be applied, and the fleet owner can analyze the data and take the decisions. Also, yeah, we have, so Wialon have all the features of the monitoring interface. We see all the vehicles in the real time, notifications, generate different events to take immediate actions, report, generate the data here. And also, it is also possible to differentiate the vehicles. For example, we have so-called featured drivers, and it is kind of non-GPS object that can be assigned to the vehicle. It means that if the vehicle is being by different drivers, it is possible to allocate them using RFID or even manually. So the fleet owner will know who was driving the specific vehicle. So again, in the Karim case, Wialon was used as a big backbone solution. It means that the end user didn't know that Wialon is in place, so he just get the data from it and push it forward. So I think now is the high time to pass the word to Wael Ramadan, who is the transportation manager, and from his experience, from his point of view, he will share why the GPS monitoring solution is important for his business. And before I pass the word to him, I'd like to thank you, Wael Ramadan, that you're visiting us. It would be extremely great to hear how the data impacts the fleet efficiency and what data you'd like to get, and so on. So, Wael, could you please start?
Thank you, Sergey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergey, for this chance. Hello, everyone. It gives me honor to join you, sharing our success story with CSG and Petroleum Arrows. Petroleum Arrows is one of the biggest companies in Egypt in fuel transportation, like Mr. Karim said. We're talking today about fuel consumption cost. I think fuel is a big part of every fleet budget. It represents approximately 40% of fleet expenses.
Yes,
Any
indeed.
fleet management, yes,
Yeah,
any fleet management depends on
I'm
GPS.
sorry for interruption, Wael. Could you please turn on
problem.
the video that you can see you? It will give us
Okay.
a personal touch. Yeah, thank you so
Hello.
much. Yes.
You are welcome. Any GPS vehicles tracking solutions helped us to save money by reducing the number of trips, make planned operations, also to reducing much of our fuel, to reducing how much our fuel our trucks burn was one of our goals. Vehicle tracking solutions can allow you to see the approximately amount of fuel used by vehicle in gallons. Then you can take actions to drive down fuel cost. One of the best actions which taken in Petroleum Arrows with help of CSG was to monitor fuel consumption online. It was by installing some of sensors, fuel sensors or level sensors in every tank. Okay. Only a few weeks and we reach our goals and see the results, which increasing the fuel consumption, also increasing the fuel efficiency, reducing the fuel consumption. It was overall about 1.8 kilometer per liter. We make it 2.4 kilometers. Also, it was a great step in reducing the fuel cost, which it was one of our goals, and we reached it by help of CSG. And thank you, Sergey. It's over to you again.
Thank you so much, Wael, for sharing your experience. So basically, I can see that telematics and the fleet tracking is the new reality in the fleet transportation. So, for example, just for a minute, I'm a service provider like Karim. Well, I'm a newbie in this sphere. I'm Karim. I'm his competitor, and
yes,
I'm just armed the SIM cards. I purchased the SIM cards from POD group. And also,
yeah.
I use the Wialon service as a Wialon software. So, could you please tell me, what should I do? What should I offer you that you decide to choose my company as a service provider?
It depends on your offer. we were talking about how much we will save the money from the fuel consumptions. Also, how they can help us in making plan for operations. The behavior of drivers, it will be returned to the best or not. It's many offers they give us to implement their experiments.
Okay, got it. So basically, it's not about just a solution, but also it's like the research that they offer to you that, for example, having my solution, you will reduce the fuel cost. You will increase the driver behavior. Is it correct?
Yes,
All right.
this is correct. Yeah.
Are there any unspoken criteria you have? For example, let's say I will say that you will reduce the fuel efficiency or you will reduce the fuel consumption of your fleet by 10%. But another, let's say the service provider says that you'll reduce by 20%. Would you believe? What would be the
No,
proof?
the proof only the experiments.
Experiment.
Yes.
Actually, for the experiment, how many vehicles can you provide for the integrator?
Maybe we apply it in 10 trucks, but different brands.
So, for example, in the process, when you're looking for a new service provider, I actually can assign different vehicles, for example, 10 vehicles for this service provider, 10 vehicles to another. Is that?
Yes, it will be okay. Yes, and I think it will be the better solution to judge what is the service provider is the best for us.
All right. So basically, as an integrator, I will come to you and I will say that in theory, you're going to save such amount of money, so your driver behavior will be improved. And let's set up the demo to that I can prove it. That's
Yes,
right?
yes, you are right.
Okay, perfectly. Thank you, Wael, for your insight. I hope that the cooperation with Karim as your current service provider will bring you more and more fuel efficiency and the driver, good driver behavior. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now I think it's a high time to also to check the questions from the chat. I have the question here and from Barati. What network SIM card do you have that can assist us here in Botswana? And is there any SIM? How much will data cost us roughly per month? And how do we pay for the data? And how do we pay for the data? I didn't get the last question, but actually, so if it's possible to use your services in Botswana, David, and how roughly data will cost per month?
Yes, I can respond to that. We do indeed provide coverage in Botswana, and I would be happy, as well as my colleague Miriam, who I've seen has also mentioned in the chat, that we will be able to provide a bespoke quotation for any customer in any region of the world, including the majority of Africa, of course, and the Middle East. So that would be no problem. If the customer can leave their details, and we'll be happy to provide that quote.
All right, got it. Thank you so much, David. And another question, Karim, I think to you. At what stage in the development of your application should you start to consider the connectivity, choosing the connectivity provider?
This is a very important part, and it can be from the very beginning of the process, because from experience, the connectivity consumption depends on the type of data that will be generated and will require to have the SIM card serve it in terms of connectivity. So the perfect answer would be from the beginning. Why from the beginning? Because if we know from a standard standpoint, on average, how much per month, per vehicle or per device, an amount of gigabytes or even less if it's a light application is consumed, then we need to allocate, and this is what we did, by the way, with Petroleum. Then we need from the very beginning allocate this as part of the customer budget to implement the solution. So it's from the very beginning in order to select the correct IoT connectivity platform, the correct IoT SIM card, so that it is procured and made ready. Because once we start the installation, we need to have the SIM cards activated and ready and be plugged in with the appropriate IoT device or sensor to have the vehicle connected and ready to be used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. This is also, yeah, it's important to start thinking about what will push the data to the servers, the connectivity, the first thing. And also, yeah, the process of what is kind of the, I think this is a question more for Wael and Karim. Like, if Wael wants to, yeah, he needs to have a service provider. So there, he starts a tender, and the process is kind of the whitelisting. So are there, how many stages there are in this process? So I think that the first stage is the tender requirements, and another stage is the demo. Are there any specific like stages or only two of them? Karim?
No, there are basically. I think we need to in the requirements phase or in this process. I need to get back to Wael point where he said that doing the test or the pilot, I would call it the pilot, between that is very important. So you would have the customer drafting out and preparing their requirements or their RFP or proposal requirements, then moving on to defining who are the vendors or services providers that will implement. But I would even recommend to any customers that including a pilot phase, a test phase that, like Wael just explained, covering from 5 to 12 vehicles is very important to include in this process.
Thank you so much. And there is another question. As the service integrator, and you did the great job of creating this integration for a customer, even with your own solution. So how does it work? Do you usually need to have developers in the company, or you can outsource the development? And speaking about the Wialon API, is it difficult to work with it?
First part of the question, the first answer of the question is that you could have or rely on your own developers. Our development team from the very beginning of starting the experience of Wialon as a service provider or as a system integrator has been very smooth. Learning and mastering Wialon is not that difficult, especially if you have developers with the right capabilities, technically speaking. But also, again, you could also outsource if you don't have the developers available in your resources to do the integration part and to do the development. Speaking of how easy it was to use the web APIs of Wialon, it was a bit challenging with the third-party application of Petroleum Arrows, for example, the ERP system. This is where it was a little bit complex, not from the API's perspective, but from the third-party application and having the API's integration work and without any troubles or without any technical hiccups or issues. But using the easiness or the easy manner of using and relying on the web APIs made available from the Wialon platform, no, it is of course very easy to use and very well prepared and to enable you to do such an integration.
Thank you so much. So as you have the developers in a company, so is it possible that some other integrators can ask you to do this integration?
Yes, absolutely. This is part actually of our services that we offer and part of our cooperation models. So we are very much open for that, not only in Egypt, but in other parts of the African and Middle East region. And we already have similar partnerships with other service providers where we made available to them our pool of Telematics Wialon developers in hand. So they are always utilizing them in different projects in an outsourcing model or in any other model. This is, of course, open for cooperation. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Actually, that is great because it also happens that you don't have the own developer, but you need to enter market with the extremely difficult solution with the integration. So it's great to have Wialon that you can contact the partners that already have the experience with this. All right. So I think that for sum up for today, we learned that every region has a specific, and today we spoke about the challenges of the Africa and Middle East region. And to wrap up, there are several challenges. So remote area with unreliable network coverage. So in this case, our integrator, service integrator, they need to use not the only the local network providers, but it's the best way to use the network providers that not build the infrastructure, but provide the services, different networks. So it's like the combination of everything possible that you can use. So thank you for David Boxshall. You can use this thing to set up the connectivity for your projects. And yeah, another challenge was a cross-border transport and carrying valuable cargo. And using Wialon software, it's possible to monitor any activities in real time to get analysis. And also with the connectivity, we can get this cross-border monitoring. Also, we learned that in Africa and Middle East region, there was lack of IoT support. So Wialon and integrators and the connectivity providers like Pound Group, the Sergey from Karim, Cloud Services Group, and Wialon, we provide the support 24/7. As for Wialon, for every integrator, we provide an implementation specialist that will assist with building the reports, setting up the notifications, and advising on the API usage and further integrations. Also, there are a lot of third-party applications developed that works on top of Wialon. So for those partners that are interested in expanding the geography and providing the services possible, we can also recommend you to use some specific applications. Also, the security issues in Africa and Middle East. So the connectivity provider, they do the thing, the MENA applets, for example, the SIM cards will be locked to the specific device. It means that if the theft will take the SIM card plus another device, so it doesn't work. And speaking about the real-time monitoring, the Wialon reads the data, and we can set up different notifications to get notified when something happens with the device. Fuel efficiency, of course, is another task that was done with the, as example, the service provider, Karim, we installed the fuel probes the vehicle to get via the Wialon the fuel consumption per trip. And in overall, we did the fleet optimization by improving the driver behavior and increasing the daily mileages. So my notes here, and all the challenges were solved, and all you need to do is to get armed with the right connectivity provider, or with the software that works for you, and also choose, if you're a client, a fleet owner, you need to choose the right integrator to get these services. And also, yeah, this is Telematics. It's always about the combination, the connectivity, the software, the hardware, and the solution as a whole. And of course, it is important to pick the right hardware. So in this webinar, we didn't touch the hardware section because there are a lot of tracking devices available on the market, and you can take a lot of them. And what is more, the Wialon software supports more than 2,200 devices, models integrated. So there is the right choice for you to pick. And the last but least, I'd like to say that in the next webinar, but not a webinar, a meetup. Actually, we're launching again our series of meetups. So on 23rd of September, there's going to be a meetup, and it's going to be about the monitoring of the heavy machinery. So I'd like to invite you to join, to get registered to this webinar. And I think that is all for now. Thank you all for visiting us, for participating in the discussion. And also Karim, David, and Wael, thank you so much for being with us. And so see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks very
everybody.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergey.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you. You were amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.